The reason I even bring him up again is because I've been watching a lot of the podcasts that he did in the lead up to the album, and
Hmm.
a lot of the like media promo stuff that he was doing.
I love when they do that.
And
Get to hear from
one
them.
of the guys, I think it was Rap Radar, one of the guys on there asked him, like, what conspiracy can you say for sure that you do believe in? And he said, that's easy, God.
He's and he said what?
He said, that's easy, God. And I
Hmm.
was like, that's such a perfect answer. That's such a perfect answer to me for so many reasons. For so many reasons. But I just want to just make that the discussion point that I want to cover, not only right now. I want to talk about it, me and you, but I'm also going to make this the central point to the podcast moving forward. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think everything we talk about can fall under the umbrella of God. And God is just a word, it's just a symbol that represents many different things to different people. And so, if we want to talk about worldview, which is something that I'm ultimately trying to get at, I don't think we can talk about worldview without having the God discussion. And I think the God discussion is one that can be had by anybody. Worldview is a little academic, but when you start just talking about God, atheists can talk about God, non religious people can talk about their conception or perception of God,
Hmm.
scientific people can talk about whatever their God is,
The folks on the back of the dollar can talk about their
whatever
God.
whatever it may be, and then that's just the non-religious stuff that I just named. Then you got all the
Hmm.
actual religious conceptions and perceptions of God. And so I just wanted to ask you, um, what is your how do you define God? First, do you believe in God? And I think I know the answer to that because I know you well enough. I think the answer is yes. But to take that
Hmm.
answer, and I shouldn't even assume that, but just assuming that that's your answer, how do you define God? What is your conception of God? I mean, these are questions that I think we should be having with each other, and that's what I'm going to start doing on the pod. I feel like it gets right at the heart of what I've always wanted to do with the pod, and it took me 52 episodes to really just be like, just take the arrow and shoot it right at the heart. Let's just talk about God. And
Hmm.
because all of these other things that I like to talk about, indigenous culture versus civilized culture, spirituality, the nature of reality, rendering, transhumanism, technology, AI, social media, money, crypto, gift economy, UBI, marriage, the institution of marriage, politics, religion, health, faith, placebo, plant medicine, psychology, ego, all of
Amazing topics.
all of
Amazing
this falls
topics.
under God. All of it falls under God. So I think we can center all of our conversations from this point forward around God. And then at least, like in your case, for instance, you're probably going to be on the podcast a lot more, but we can just take this conversation because this is a never ending conversation for real. Like we could take this topic and go forever. So the next time you're on, we'll just pick up right wherever we leave off today because it's so much that falls under this topic, man. But anyways, I've talked enough. I just wanted to lay out why I'm asking you this question and maybe to give you time to think about it. How do you define God? What is your God? You even mentioned it a little bit earlier about how your God said it was okay for you to question things. Um,
Hmm.
my God would agree with that 1,000% and would say it's even okay to question him and that it's natural and it's not even necessarily a him. I mean, a him is my
Exact. Oh, and did not and did
uh,
our favorite one of our favorite artists, Ab, not allow us
talked
to
about that
think
on
about it from that perspective too? Yeah, could be a woman, could be an entity that we don't, a deity that we can't even. Uh,
it's the ultimate mystery,
yeah, who knows? Alien.
the yin yang,
Uh, I mean, who knows? And see,
right?
and that's kind of how I look at it
Not
at
in
this
words
point.
for sure, but I think at
And
the
and
same
and
time, that's the yin yang again. Because even though I feel that God is beyond words, I also feel it's very important for people to talk and discuss what how they perceive or see or conceive God or the ultimate power in this reality. However, see, the thing is, like an atheist, if I was having this conversation with an atheist, my argument to an atheist is like, okay, you don't believe in God, but that's because you define God in such and such way. But if you define God the way I define God, which is reality itself that we all exist in,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you're alive, the fact that that atheist is having a conversation with me, the fact that that we are both having that experience is proof of God to me, because that's the reality is we're existing within what I call God, and God is just a symbol to me that represents what is real.
Yeah.
Least, at the very least, the force or the mysterious thing that created everything that is real.
Yeah.
I don't.
And I can start there, G. I mean, that's pretty much what it is for me. For me, it's not pretending like so many do. Let me not do that. It's not pretending that that we just have all the answers because something was written in a book or given to us or told to us. It's everything and more of what you just said. It's when I was sitting on the phone with Kay and my ability to even think something, whatever that energy, whatever that force, whatever that feeling, whatever that vibe is, that I was able to think for allowing me to be a critical thinker and to question things and to think for myself. That is God. It is the ability to talk. I grew up as I have an older sister, but I grew up, you know, just really me and my dad in a very small town in the woods. I mean, I grew up talking to myself, me talking to myself and figuring things out and asking questions to the sky and talking to my imaginary friends and like feeling things because I was able to really like talk through them and talk them out. Some people would call that whatever label they want to give this shit, crazy, or you know, you're a child that has to do this and do that, and they try to define it, come up with labels, all of that crap. Fine, cool, that's God to me. The ability to want to reach or research what I believe to be something that the universe or God wanted me to know or understand that could help my dad or could help me or could help health or could help someone else is God. Me thinking that the universe gives me signs and things is God. The sky being blue and it not making any sense to me is God. You know what I'm saying? Like these things to me are God. I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean, I get it. There's books there's books that have been written by figures and characters that tell things, and I'm you know I understand the story about that, the religious story about it all, and that's fine. But God is way too complex for it to just be that. You know, now I'm not getting into the whole morality of things, and I'm not getting into guides and things that you could pull from to help you do that. That's fine. But my point is that there are good people that I'm sure have carried out whatever their God has put in their heart to carry out that may not even pay attention to any of the religion stuff, that are still of a good ilk, of a good person, of a good energy, of a good spirit, of a good mind. And it has nothing to do with defining them of being godly or godlike because they may not go to church or because they may not believe the same God you believe in. And that's my other thing. Like, why? Like, okay, so whose God is correct about? See, all of that. That is God to me. The fact that someone could sit in the middle of a conversation between two people arguing about the differences of something, yet they both quote unquote believe in God, is God to me. Because it's like, I'm able to sit here and be like this to that. And you guys are able to sit there and be like that to that. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like all of that is God to me because it is so complex. It is so convoluted. It is so above what we're able to understand that it is God. That's God to me.
And then there's the
You
other
know?
side of it, though. There's the other side of that where it's so simple.
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't gotten there yet. Exactly. So that's the thing. It's like when you strip all of that away, when you take away the computers and you take away the books and you take away the information and you take away, when you take it all away and you just get on your knees and you put your hands in the dirt or the sand or the ground and you breathe the air and you look into the sky and you see a sun that you don't even understand how that's there. I know what science tells us. That's another story. My point is that all of that is God to me. You know, it's we can make it very complex and convoluted in 1,000 pages with 1,000 books and try to decipher what they're trying to say. Or we can make it simple as just putting my toes in the salt water of the ocean and saying, wow, like something made this, something, this
This
is
exists.
here somehow.
This
This
exists.
is this exists. Yes, this exists. Like I don't care about your explanations and about your complex, convoluted
Story that's
thing stories. I don't. It's good and it's great and I get it that some people need it and that's fine and that's good. For me, it's it's the ability to make the decision between right and wrong. It's the ability to even feel what you feel is right or wrong. Who are you to say what? For me, right or you see what I'm saying? It's like that is God.
well,
Like
I would say I say a few. I mean, yes. To first of all,
because He still gives you choice.
the
It
sentiment, this
not He, but it still gives you
in
whatever.
sentiment, I 100% agree with you with what you're the message that you're ultimately getting at. I 100% agree with you. Some things that I would nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. First of all, like the Toltecs say that, or I don't want to say the Toltecs because this one is not necessarily the Toltecs. This one's Don Miguel himself. He said,
Mm-hmm.
"I believe that the real word, the real name of God is love."
Mm-hmm.
I think that that is a more accurate word. Again, at the end of the day, it's still just a symbol, but it's a symbol that vibrates at a frequency that seems more in alignment with what is, like what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
what exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could it
Mm-hmm.
exist if it was anything but love? Because love is a creative force versus hate, which would do nothing but destroy itself. If that
Right.
hate could not create a universe at all. It's only going to eat at it.
Eat and burn and be dark and gloomy and fiery and whatever else. I know exactly what you mean.
But even that force could be used for good if you're burning, doing a controlled burn to make an area,
Right.
you know,
Right. Of
for a
course.
grow. There are ways to use these forces that can also be used for bad or for evil or destruction.
Absolutely.
Those same exact forces can be used in alignment with love. And there's a reason
Right.
forces exist. So I don't want to even talk negative about, like the
About those
power of
things. No,
fire,
you're right.
for
You're
example,
right.
the power of lightning or whatever. Yeah, they can be destructive, but they can also be cultivate the most amazing, perfect harmony and growth and perfection and beauty that we could ever imagine. So, um, the reason I say all of this is because I feel like all of that could just be so simple if we were to just stop believing everything we've learned because we're born as love. We are love. And we can
Gee,
there's nothing to learn. We don't have to learn how to love. We have to unlearn how to hate.
you just touched on something that I said in one of our pods a while ago that I understand can be a very controversial topic, especially in my community. But this thing with history, it's like sometimes I just wonder, like, are we a little, like unlearning some things and maybe I understand the sentiment of we must understand where we come from to be better at it or something like that. I guess I kind of get that, but I do know also, to kind of piggybacking off of what you just said, you know, you have to, what good is it doing us continuing to relive and reinforce trauma or hate or anything that is not of positive ilk, and pretend like it's not going to breed at least a small percentage of those that desire to live within darkness, that can that can manifest it back again, especially if they have power, or what we consider here to be power and levels to power, and that's, you're right though. I mean, that's kind of going back to what I said a while back. I mean, my thing about history and sometimes some of the stuff that we continue to just hand down generation through generation, and we wonder why it's still here. Well, okay, it's still here because we're continuing to manifest it in some way, form, or fashion. I don't know what the perfect balance is to take away some of it or not do it, or what's right and wrong. And I'm not here to say that or judge that or be the missionary in that. But my point is that it just brings up a good kind of compliment to what you just said there about unlearning some of that.
Because at the end of the day, it's all just a story. Like even
all of it is.
Well, James, like even if we grant that the story is true, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt for a second. Let's say that their version of the story is true, their version of history or whatever is true. Let's just, even though I think that it's full of lies, just to be
yeah. So but we're giving it the benefit of the doubt. Yes.
For the sake of this argument, let's just say that their version of history is true. It's still just a story. We can still take that and do whatever we want with it in this present moment, and we
absolutely
can tell and speak and write a different story.
A different story.
Another story different that we want to participate in.
That's all I've ever said. That's all I've ever said. It's like